You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Join the party that is Make Your Day Richer TV by advertising your brand, business, or project during the show. Use us to promote what you're doing to make our viewers' day richer. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Hi everyone, welcome. It's very hard to do a show and be in the center of the camera when there's a 90-pound dog at your feet and under your desk, but we're gonna do it because it's Friday and we made it. So congratulations everyone, we made it. Yes, thank you. Perfect. We also made it to 140,000 views and downloads. What in the world? Y'all are knocking us out of the park. I cannot believe it. Yesterday was a big day for us on LinkedIn, and those of you who watch on LinkedIn, I thank you. Now is a good time to share the show, everyone, no matter where you're watching, no matter where you're listening, share the show. And we could end up with like 75,000 views in January. Can you imagine? We started the show the first month we did the show, we had 7,000. We are already at about 35,000 in January. So come on, help us out, would you? I also want to thank, speaking of helping us out, I want to thank, let's get the right thing. One of our guests yesterday, the Top Cat Talent Show, Susan, bought us a coffee yesterday. Thank you so much for doing that. That's a great way to support this show. And you can do it. You don't have to be a guest to support this show and get your name in the end credits. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/makeyourdayricher and boom, you support the show and help us bring you amazing people every single day. It's Friday, the weekend. This is the weekend. The Christmas decorations are coming down this weekend. I am telling you, they are. And if I show up here on Monday and say that they're not, well, I'll try again next weekend. But they have to come down. They're all unplugged. Everything but the tree is unplugged now. And a lot of it's sitting on the dining room table still. So all I really need to do is like take the bins from the garage, bring them in, throw everything in, put them back out. It'll probably take like 2 hours. Well, the tree will take a long time, like maybe 2 hours of my life. But then, you have to like clean everything. Now you have to dust. Then you're going to do the floors. And then you're going to, then while I'm doing that, I might as well do the bathrooms. It's a whole thing. But it needs to be done. Also this weekend, it's my sister-in-law's birthday. Tomorrow. Lakin, happy birthday! Oh, she also needs a clap. Let me try that again. Lakin, happy birthday! Yes. I don't think she watches this show, but maybe someone will tell her that I did that. Okay. We do have a really, really great show to end the week on, so I think you're going to really enjoy this. Jonathan Bernstein is here to talk about his kids' book called Two Goats, which is about his time he spent in quarantine with his son during COVID. So that's going to be a great story. And then Katische Haberfield is here. She's this dog. I need to get a camera back here. She's taking up more space. Katische Haberfield is here. She's a medium, a poet, an author, and we're going to talk all about Archangels. We're going to learn about Archangels today and what that means for you and your life and your history. And well, she'll tell you. I don't know anything about it. So let's start the show, shall we? My first guest is a dad, an entrepreneur, and the author of not one, but 2 children's books, Two Goats, and another one called Election Day. He's passionate about making a positive impact on the world through visual storytelling. And let me tell you, his books are beautiful. They're the kind of books that you will want to read over and over again. You will want to read them. Your kids will want to read them. They're really good books. So please give a big, warm welcome to Jonathan Bernstein. Jonathan.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Congratulations on the second edition of Two Goats.
Thank you.
I have a question. What is the second? Does that mean that it's different than the first edition, or what does that mean in the literary world?
It is a lot different, and there are a number of reasons. We wanted to make something more streamlined. The first edition is really not the typical format for a children's book. The first edition was over 100 pages, and this is 32, which is a lot more standard.
How difficult was that to do?
Yeah, I mean, it involved a lot of sacrifices, really, because the story is complicated in the first edition, but I think it's better in the sense that now the message is more clear, and I think because it's more focused, it can almost be read more. Whereas the first time there was just more adventures and more happenings. But I think in this case, the message, the moral of the story, I guess, is more obvious. It really rose to the surface by making it shorter.
Tell everybody about the book.
Well, let's see. The genesis of the book was during COVID. I was living in San Francisco in a pretty isolated way with my son, who at the time was just 5.5 years old. So we lived effectively in isolation, and it was convenient. There was a garden, and there was lots of room. But what we didn't do, and what we missed, was seeing other people. And I never thought that this would be something I would do. And I don't suspect it'll be something I'll ever do again, which is just literally see one person nonstop for 6 months and have no physical contact with other people. It was an extraordinary time. I think really a great time then and with hindsight. But this story emerged from that experience. And so it's a story of two goats. It's modeled on myself and my son. And the two goats in the story live on a barn that's surrounded by fields of poppies, and they have kind of an idyllic life. They just go on adventures together and they play games, but they don't have any contact. There's almost no awareness of anybody else in the world. It's sort of like that's the whole world for them. And then one day, the little goat on an adventure, it stumbles on a fence, and he hears the sound of other goats on the other side of the fence. And so thus begins a story of how he discovers the rest of the world. I think you'd have to read the book, or I could tell you more detail what happens, but that's the setup.
What age is the book for?
We say 4 to 8. I think it's a book that people can read to their children. It's also a book that children can learn to read on. The language is pretty simple, but there are a couple words that even maybe 7 or 8-year-old might not know. So it's a simple story, but in a way it is challenging for very young children.
Did you ever think that you were going to write a book? Was that ever in a plan of yours growing up, or even as an adult?
Well, that's a great question. I actually have written several books that were really just for my son. I wrote a book to him, for him about it's called Stardust. It's about the beginning of the world and how everybody comes to live in the world. A couple other books I wrote as well, but really just for family. Since then, I've got another book with the same illustrator, Natalia, and we put that out, I guess, about 6 months ago, called Election Day. And that was a book about what could happen on Election Day and life in America on Election Day. And that book's been pretty well received. It's been pretty popular. It's a different kind of book. It's almost a book for adults rather than children, although the format is a sort of a Where's Waldo type book. It's in the German Wimmelbuch tradition, which is large pictures, large panels that have lots of individual characters and very few words. So that's a different kind of book from this book, but that book got a lot of circulation, especially in the months leading up to the election.
What do you love about about writing and even like the entire production of a book. Like you were talking about, the illustrator, there's so much that goes in to getting a book from start to finish. What do you love about it?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's, as you say, it's more than just the writing. I think we all live in story, and I think that everybody, I think, lives in story and narrative, and there's just a small difference between experiencing the world in this way and then writing it down or making it something that you can share with other people. And that's a vital step to take. And I think that that's really the difference between somebody who's an author or an illustrator, I guess, or painter, or you know, an artist of some kind, and somebody who just experiences the world and sees the world in whatever way. And it seems like a big step for some people. I don't think it's as big a step as people generally believe. I think people all have it within them. There's this who said that, I don't know, it was Orwell. So anyway, somebody said that everybody has got one story within them, one novel within them. That's definitely the case because everybody has sort of a life. But many people now, I think, have more than one novel within them. So it's really just it's just almost a reorientation of experience, to write that down. And I think that's an extremely fulfilling activity because we do experience the world, as I say, in this narrative way. And then to convert that into a thing that other people can see and you can share with other people, that's a very validating experience.
How does your son feel about having himself kind of in a book? Does he feel like a little celebrity that it's based on him, kind of?
Yeah, I think he really likes that. I mean, there is something to that too. I think as a parent, new stories come alive in a sense. I think, back to this question of having stories, I think it's the nature of parenthood to tell stories. And so I think that's why many people do this. They have a kid and then they have a book, so I think there's something that I owe to him for that. And I think maybe he likes that too. He likes to be important to me. So I don't know that he feels like a world celebrity quite yet, but he does. I think you're right. I think it gives him some sense of affirmation of who he is. That he could be in a book or relevant for a book.
Do you see him yet like interested in writing or more interested in books now? Like, what's his fascination with it?
Well, that's another thing that happened during COVID. So he learned to read, right? I mean, he learned to ride a bike, he learned to read, and he's a big reader now. I think partly because of the COVID experience rather than from books that I've made. I don't know, I think he kind of looks at them rather quickly, in my opinion, some of the stuff, but he looks at other books more carefully. So I think he became a reader during this period of time too.
Cool. Are you working on anything next or now?
We have another one coming out. So this thing I mentioned about Election Day is part of a series called the American Holiday Series. So the pitch was that Election Day should be made into a holiday. That was the pitch for that book. And there's some reason to do that. The US is one of, I think, just two countries in all the OECD countries, all the major economies, that doesn't hold elections on either a holiday or a weekend. And so as a consequence, there's a lot less turnout effectively because people can't get to the polls and mailing votes, it's another step. So that's not a holiday. Election Day isn't a holiday, but it's part of this series called the American Holiday Series. And the next one is Halloween, which is also not a holiday. But the idea is that we're going to have a book about Halloween and the same characters, some of the same characters that appear in Election Day are going to appear again in Halloween. Oh, cool. So that's coming out. It'll be definitely by Halloween next year, hopefully a few months early so that we can get people aware of it before the season starts.
Cool. I hope you come back when that book is released to talk about it. That's a great series.
It'd be nice to come back for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you love most about your life right now?
Well, I'm kind of fortunate in the sense that I am able to spend a lot of time making things, and that's a little bit new for me. I've worked pretty hard a lot of my life, and on things that I'm not sure that were as important to me as working on artistic projects and creative projects. So I think that's the major change for me in the last couple of years.
Good answer. What's the best way that people can connect with you and support you?
Well, I think it'd be nice to have a couple of Amazon reviews. We kind of just put this up, and so we only have one or two, I think, and I haven't got out the word quite on this. So maybe you can help with that.
Well, there you go. He went away. The book is called Two Goats. Go on Amazon and buy it, and make sure you do a review. That is Jonathan Bernstein. The website is twogoatsbook.com. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with medium Katische Haberfield right after this. Don't go away.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Don't you just love technology? Now he's here, now he's not. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I'm glad we got through the interview before he went away. So here we go. Ever wish you could peek into your past lives? Maybe revisit a moment of pure joy from another time, another place, even another dimension? Well, my next guest says she can help you do just that. She works with archangels, yes, you heard that right, archangels, to help people unlock their true potential for happiness. Through her incredible sessions, she guides people on journeys through their past lives, pinpointing those moments of intense joy that can offer incredible insights into what truly makes us happy. Please welcome, I feel like this is going to be a good conversation. Please welcome Katische Haberfield.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm fabulous. Start of the day here for us in Australia, so we're ready to go.
Oh, I love it. I love an Australian accent, which I'm sure you hear all the time. Did you grow up there?
I did, but I've lived in many other places. But yep, I'm an Aussie. I've got a ripper of an accent. I know it makes me laugh when I listen to it back because it's kind of like this masculine voice, I think, but it's also feminine in a strange way. But, that's just me.
It's just fun. I suppose someone growing up with a Midwestern accent in the US, it's not so cute. And so any other accent is fun, but yours is always fun. When you are a medium, I want to start there. But I want my first question, which I don't know if this is a dumb question or not, but what is the difference between a medium and like a psychic?
Okay, sure. So I'm also many other things than a medium, but to answer your question directly, in my mind, it is the difference between a psychic deals with the energy of you right here and right now and uses tools of divination such as pendulums or tarot cards or oracle cards or uses jewelry or whatever it is to understand you and your energy right here and now. Now, a medium is somebody who works with spirits, and I don't like the word spirits because you can have many different types of mediums. And so there are mediums that only bring through messages from your loved ones who have gone to the other side, depending upon whatever your spiritual or religious beliefs are. And there are mediums like me who not only work with your loved ones, but they work with your spirit guides and angels and archangels. And then I also work with people from your other lifetimes, which is a bit crazy, and animals from this and other lifetimes. And I also am a ghost medium, so I can communicate with and hear people who are stuck, who are needing help to get to the other side. So I guess which part of that would you like to talk about? Because I'd like to make you and your listeners understand happiness and how they can be happy as well. But sometimes to understand happiness, you have to look at fear and your worries and the things that are holding you back in life. So I work through the wide spectrum, but that's my understanding and how I work with mediumship is when I'm connecting to people who are not here in this present moment in a physical form for you.
When did you know you had this? What would you call a talent? This like, what do you call that?
I don't call it a talent. I call it some days very unfortunate, some days rather inconvenient, some days
Uh-huh.
rather embarrassing, because I've had to sort of, deal with. I've got two teenage boys. Well, one just has become an
Mm.
adult, and it's like, oh, mum's a bit weird. So I would say I ignored it for most of my life. I always
Mm.
thought I was a bit sensitive and could pick up on emotions of others, which is kind of a little bit more the psychic stuff. I'm prone to
Mhm.
bursting into tears very easily, especially in movies and in hospitals and around people. Uh,
Same. Same.
yeah. And it wasn't until, and you can close your ears if you don't want to hear this, I went through perimenopause. So I went through the change in hormones for women very early in my early 40s. And with that, it sort of fast forwarded and threw everything that I could possibly want to do in this lifetime into 1 minute and said, ta da, guess what? That part of your life is closed and welcome to the new adventure.
Ta-da!
And I've been learning to deal with
Wow.
it ever since. So I'm turning 49 in a couple of weeks' time. And on Christmas Eve, I share a birthday with Jesus. And
So does my nephew.
oh, really? There you go. They're
Yeah.
special people.
Yeah.
Christmas Day babies and Christmas Eve
Mhm.
babies are
Mhm.
very special people. So yeah, just
Yeah.
been grappling with that since well, that's that 7 years. But yeah, the signs were back when I was little as well.
And so I love the way you talk about it so candidly and openly about like, I've had many people on here who said that they've embraced it and they've known since they were a kid and love it. And I love the way that you talk about that it's sometimes an inconvenience and a pain and that you didn't really want to go into that. At what point were you like, you know what? I don't have a choice. So
I
I'm
can
just going
tell
to
you
go with
exactly when. Yeah, so 2019, I was buying a house. hmm First time that I'm divorced. I've been divorced for a long time, and I was like, right, I need to buy a house. I've been in the rental market for a long time. Want to buy a house, and so I was looking in all the suburbs that I wanted to buy. There was nothing available. They were all knock 'em downers, and I'm like, I don't know a thing about renovation, and so I don't
Mm.
want to go there. So I was looking for a place, and I found a townhouse, and it was brand new. There was nothing to do. It was in my budget, and I said to the guy who was showing it to me on the first viewing, I'll buy it, done. And he kind of looked at me very strangely, like, are you crazy? And I'm like, I can't see anything wrong with this place. Thank you, sign, done. Well, there, did I say it was across the road from a hospital? And
No.
specifically, directly, so I'm not exaggerating here, and I have been prone to exaggerate in the past, it is less than 2 meters from my front door to a patch of grass where some beautiful returned veterans come out to have a smoke and a cup of tea when they go to the returned veterans war to help with their mental health situation. And
Mm.
so as soon as I moved in, I started to have a whole bunch of stuff come in. I started to have ghosts from the hospital come through, floating in my front door. I also started to have energy come from the veterans. So I could feel their negative emotions, their grief, their shame, and also sometimes they had ghosts from the battlefields. And then at the same time, I started I studied and became a past life regression therapist. And in a session, I had a queen float into my lounge room. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? Help! And, and then my cat started attacking my kids on their ankles. And I'm like, oh, good. As well as that, we'd like to layer in negative
Mm.
entities. And I was like,
Mhm.
well, I guess we're doing it all. And so this house was the
Oh.
catalyst because suddenly everything just started coming in and they're like, would you like some more? And I'm like, no, but they're like, well, it's coming in anyway. So I had to learn to very quickly work with all the beings that are around to help us, and then figure out this mediumship thing, and then figure out, well, I'm also trying to be a past life regression therapist and be a mum, and how do I stay sane? But there's apparently this gift that I have. So yeah, it was a bit fun.
Are you still in that home?
Yes. Because I have learned to clear the energy. And because now I have a team and I have very firm boundaries, and the team are called the Rescue Spirits of Light. And anybody who has negative energy come into their house can simply call on through their own mind or out loud the Rescue Spirits of Light, and they're a whole team who do work in that area. But if you're religious, there's usually a prayer in your religion. So in Christianity, there's Psalm 23, which is often played at funerals. And I have live recordings whereby the ghosts have heard Psalm 23 and they're like, oh, I can see the angel now. And then they go off to the light. They literally say it to me. I can see the angel now. Thank you. So you don't have to, you can hire somebody to help you clear your house, but you can also do things like just simply say, Archangel Michael, Archangel Zadkiel, Archangel Azrael, please help. Please help the person who is here, or the entity or the being, to see that they have loved ones waiting for them. If they have any regrets or fears, please know that there's nothing to be afraid of. Please show them, allow them to see the light of the angels, and let them go, because I've got things to do. But they're here because they know that I can feel them or sense them, and they need help. So I've learned not to be frightened of them. And I was very, very frightened of them. And most people would be, right? But I've also learned that the fear brings the wisdom. And so I've learned a lot about grief, and I've learned about fears and what we regret in life. And it's been very intense, but I've also learned how to get the wisdom from that and then use happiness and happy moments and working with the angels to show me the happiest moments of my soul and other people's souls, so I can say, right, it's a little bit tough at the moment. It's a bit intense in my life, and everybody else is experiencing that. Besides, it's Christmas nearly, and or I don't know when this is going to go live, but pick any time, Easter, graduation, bar mitzvah, whatever it is, it can be a little bit, and you just need a moment to collect yourself, center yourself, remember or do something that brings you happiness, and then you can go back to your regular shit show of your life. Do you know what I mean? But we need to do both things.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I was going to say there's so much fear around it for people. There's a lot of judgment around it about what that all means. And you kind of touched on it, like, what would you say to those people that, I mean, because you were in the same thing where you were fearful of it and not wanting to embrace it. What would you say?
Okay, so it's there for a reason. And even if, for example, let's pretend somebody has a spirit or a ghost in their house. Why? Well, it's there because either there's something from this lifetime or your other lifetime that is trying to get your attention. And it can be, hey, I just want to celebrate with you. I'm going to turn on a few lights so that you know that I'm here. And then you can start looking for the signs that I'm going to give you to encourage you, like feathers or rainbows or butterflies or whatever you believe that you associate with a person who's loved and in heaven. Or it could be something that is you just happened to buy a house and there was stuck energy, and you bought that house because you could help that person. And often what I find is that the things that we're afraid of show us matching energy in our lives that we need to clear to move forward. So one of the things that was a blessing in disguise was that so when I bought this house and I had all the hospital energy, I also felt like there was something going on this property, because I bought one townhouse and there was going to be another 26 being built behind me. And it took them many years, I think 3 years to get that even building. And I thought, there's something wrong, there's something stuck here. And I learned to clear the energy of the land to help the builders build so I could get in my neighbors. But I also found the energy of a deceased man on my property. And I was able to, even though he came from a different culture, I was able to help him go to his ancestors, because he believed in ancestors not going to heaven. And he came back and is now a guide for me to understand nature. And he said, when I went back to my ancestors, I found out that the reason that I didn't go to the what you call the light was because we had an agreement whereby I was going to help you learn about nature. And so, yes, I am a ghost in your world, but I'm not a ghost in my world, in my beliefs. And so he shows me the most magical displays of nature-based spirit energy that I have captured and shown people. So, for example, we had a beautiful light display in the botanical gardens, which was with sound and music. And a lot of it was the First Nations culture, which is what we call the original cultures of Australia. And there was just spectacular things done up in flowers and this whole field of flowers. And I was videoing it and I was like, oh, hang on, Katische, just look between all the lights, because the whole field is covered in lights. And I look between the lights and I'm like, this field is full of spirit orbs. You know how you can see orbs? And orbs fly across the screen. And I was like, I see orbs all the time, especially in videos as I'm recording them. But there's thousands and thousands of them. And he was there with me and he said, now, do you understand that this is a sacred site that you people have built a botanical garden on and we celebrate it? But I want you to show the energy of the land here and how excited they are that you're celebrating it with beautiful acts, and watch all the spirits of nature come up. And I brought over my friend who has no beliefs the same as me. She's one of my best friends. We communicate every day of the week, but she will not talk past lives, ghosts, or anything with me. And she looked in the video and she's like spellbound. She didn't know what to say. She said, I see that. And then she said to me, do you see spirits and ghosts? And I'm like,
we've been friends for how long? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all right. And then off she went again because she wasn't interested. But like, that's how he shows me now nature spirits. And he doesn't come around all the time. But so there was a blessing in finding him here, but it was also difficult because I had to feel that grief and that negative energy. And he wasn't here to help me with any of the ghost stuff I do or the past life stuff that I was doing, but he was here to help me realize that when I go out in nature and I go for a walk, I'm one of those annoying people that goes along the path and goes, oh, that's a beautiful flower, and takes a photo. And oh, that's a beautiful bee. And I'll take a video of that and I'm going to upload that to my YouTube channel. And Jesus got nothing to do with past life regression. But it's a pretty bee, isn't it? And, well, bees mean abundance. So there's a little spiritual message, but I'm just there sort of capturing a happy moment for me, because normal life when I go back is a bit weird. So, blessings come from looking into the things where you're like, oh, there's something wrong with my house. There's something wrong with that energy. Oh, but this was pre-planned and I've got over that fear and I've helped them and I've learned a new skill and that energy is now fine. And these other 27 families or whatever it was that came in don't have to deal with that. And I've got a new tick done box and a little sticker for myself.
Wow.
So I hope that answered your question in a weird way.
Yeah, totally. Do you think it, I don't know, I hear a lot of people say that like children especially have that ability and then as adults we kind of pretend it doesn't exist. Do you think that's true as well? Or do you like, I'm trying to think of like, I don't know, do have other family members past or present also? Like, is it hit or
No,
miss who is able to do it?
Yeah, so everybody has the first 7 years of their life basically adjusting to their body and being a human being and being me or you, right? Because we come into this body, we choose this body, we choose this name for ourselves. And so before you might have been say Henry or Annabelle or, Muhammad or whatever. And so you come in and you're like, holy heck, right, let me try this new language. Let me try these new families. And what am I doing? And then you sometimes do have your guides with you, other ancestors teaching you things. And then we learn, we're conditioned, we're almost hypnotized by society. Do this, don't do that. Believe this, don't do that. And depending upon the family that you chose, if you chose that you wanted to have spiritual gifts, you may have chosen specifically a family who have a great lineage of that. But if you're a bit like me, and my spirit guides do laugh a lot at me, they say, why do you always choose the hard path? Then you choose a family that has no history of that, who don't even like religion, who drop you off at church to start with and say, here, you need to get a foundation and then decide if you want it. I'm going to read a newspaper in the car park. Bye. And there's absolutely nothing. I don't even talk to my family about any of this. I don't even show them the books that I participate in. They don't know. They don't listen to my podcast. We don't have discussions about it. Nothing. No. And that was a challenge that I seem to have chosen because I thought it was going to be fun. Apparently, because it's a different stretch.
Yeah.
It's like let us throw you into a situation where you can grow your soul by throwing a lot of fear at you because you don't want that vibration of fear in your life anymore. And because I've discovered that in another lifetime, I'm currently, and this sounds really weird, I know, a being who teaches other beings how to understand and be humans. And so this we only just found out in an episode on my podcast that goes live in this week, where I was able to communicate with myself. And I watched a scene where he goes and lectures these beings on how to understand humanity and emotions and how to be humans, that he sits there with a cup of strong brew and watches my lifetime and takes notes. And when he takes his notes, then he goes and delivers a lecture. I'm like, oh, geez, mate, I'm glad you could profit off my lifetime. That's why I do some of the things is to help him. And apparently that gives him it's like watching a TV show. Like right now I'm on a TV screen for you and you're watching me talk, and then he's watching me talk and he's taking notes and then delivering lectures.
Well, as long as he's happy, that's all
as
that
long
matters.
As he's happy,
apparently.
Yeah, apparently
that's
a
good a good segue to your podcast. Obviously we can probably guess what it's about, but tell everybody about the podcast, when it comes out and where they can find it.
Yeah, so it's called The Infinite Life with Katische Haberfield. I started it 3.5 years ago, and the episodes come out in seasons, so they're with themes. Very rarely do I have guests, but I do sometimes have guests. But 99% of the episodes are past life regressions or future life progressions. There are some of me channeling the Archangels, but anything that you ever want to know about the universe and human existence is on there. We've done a starseed season where we've gone to other lifetimes on other planets. We're currently doing a happiness season. We have done a romance season, a money season, like anything you can think of. We just chuck it out there and say, we're curious about this. We don't have answers in the conscious mind. Let's go into the sub and the super conscious mind, and let's prove and disprove and have adventures. So it's not your normal podcast. It's a very, very specific case study based, but it's live in terms of these aren't just me saying, oh, I talked to a client. You watch it. And it started because I was like, how do I prove that reincarnation exists? How do I prove that when I go to these locations and I get massive emotions or I get visions from another lifetime, and this has happened a lot, especially in my 20s, I would go to a church or the Tower of London and I would be like, oh, I was on that rack. I know that feeling. And it took me, 20 years to get the insight into that. And I had to do a past life regression to get it. So I was like, I don't know if this is real. I'm having all these things come up in my life. So I'm going to do my own sessions, and then I'm going to study this and become this. And then there'll be some crazy people who want to join me, and they can come on and we'll do it live and record it. And let's just see. And yeah, I think we've done 137 episodes, of which 100 of those
Wow.
are past life regressions. So I think I've answered
Wow.
my question. Have I been here before?
Yes.
Yeah, apparently.
Yes. Yeah. You're also a poet, an author. You kind of touched on that as well, and I want to make sure everybody knows where to get that stuff.
So Amazon, you can search my name on Amazon. All my links are on my website, katische.com. But yeah, the poetry I've only just started on. I did it a lot as a kid. I wrote poems about stones and butterflies and loving my mum and dad. But recently I've been very drawn to listening to the cello music and a shruti, something that the Vietnamese monks play from the Plum Village Monastery in France. And I was listening to that, and I suddenly started crying, and I had a past life vision. And then I was like, I have to get my phone out. And then I typed up a poem, and it turned out to be about the last moments of a past life. And I went, oh, some known reason that wants to get published. And I joined a collaborative book thing. And then now I've signed up for 2 more books, and I've got another 8 poems flowing out of me. So it was another one of those, well, that's a bit weird, but it was a bit fun. So I'll just do it and see what happens.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you come back when those books come out too. I'd love to talk to you about those. What I had another question too. I've heard people also say that like when people have deja vu of something, that it's actually something from a past life or something that they've lived before.
Absolutely, 100%. Yep. And you can confirm that sometimes you'll get signs in your dreams. I've had clients who have seen a dream and then we've gone back to that exact same location in a past life. So I had a client who was on the podcast this season, and I didn't know this before we did her session, but she had dreams of a specific castle in Wales, and she could describe it. And she always meant to go visit there, but she didn't. And it took her many years before she decided to work with me. And then we've done, 7 sessions already. And it was only this season that they took us back to that castle where she attended a wedding. And it was one of the happiest moments. And they were like, yeah, because we want her to focus on her family, her joy at the moment, and rest, and creating happy moments for herself and others. But that's why she had the dream. And as I said to you, I have been to many places where I've also had that deja vu, and it didn't make sense at the time. And it took a long time to realize it. But these little signs are shown to us in many different ways. Sometimes you can pick up a book, a postcard, a movie, a song, and they're all little clues. And when you're ready, and if it's appropriate for you and you're up for the challenge, and you find it interesting, then you'll start to explore it, and then it will mean something. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. They'll be like, oh, well, I tried. And when you finish this lifetime, they'll go, we tried to tell you. And you were like, no, thanks, I'm not interested. So we'll try again next time. No stress.
Yeah. What do you love most about your life right now?
The same thing that I love the most about it, I hate the most about it. It's so unpredictable. And I find that challenging, but I also find it fascinating. And I love learning, and I love helping people, and I love to tickle both my really serious side, because I am quite serious and conservative, but I'm also quite weird and strange, and I love a good laugh. And so life is unpredictable, and I'm learning to let go of my tendency and need to control things and just go with the things that interest me. And sometimes it means that I do 57 things at once, and other people will go, well, if you follow this process, you will achieve #1 on Apple Podcasts first. And I'm like, no, but I need to be on YouTube. I need to do poetry. I need to do mediumship. I need to do past life regression. I need to do it all at once. And they're like, well, you won't be #1 on Apple. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't care. I'm interested in this stuff. So as you can see, it frustrates my logical, linear mind But the other part of my mind goes, yeah, you don't need to do that. You need to do all these other things. So just do one step at a time. Do the thing in front of you that you don't go, oh, do I have to do that today? You go, you don't want to do that. And do the next thing. And then maybe at 5 p.m. you'll go, oh, quick, I'll do that now. And you do it with a rush of energy and it's done. But it wasn't interesting 3 hours ago. So don't do it until you actually get that urge to go, right, I have to do that now. And yes, I'll do it properly. But if I'd started doing it at 8 a.m., I probably would still be at my keyboard at 2 p.m. going, oh, I need another cup of tea. I need to pat the cat. I need a chocolate biscuit. And so I'm learning to embrace the uncertainty. And it really does take a little bit of, like getting out of myself. But it's like, go with the flow of what interests you right now. And don't be worried about other people's benchmarks and other people's goals and what you should have done. Because, I should have been many things. And I do fluster, and people do look at me and go, how does a university lecturer and an e-commerce consultant become a medium and an author and a poet? I don't get that. And I'm like, I don't either, to be honest.
I don't either, yeah.
Just suddenly became boring to me.
Are.
So, yeah, I went this way. That was boring. I moved that way. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. What is the best way that people can connect with you and follow you? And
yeah, sure. Just go straight to
Katische.com.
So just my website, and everything you need to know about me and all the links are there.
Okay, good. I appreciate you coming on so much. I could sit here and talk to you for hours, and maybe I'll have you back a couple times. Every time you have a book come out, every time you write a single poem, please come back and talk about it.
Thank you. I've had a great time. I've had a blast. Thank you so much for having me. Namaste.
I appreciate it. Thank you. We're going to take a break and we'll be back after this. Don't go away.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Thanks for watching, everyone. On Monday's show, Bob Martin is here to talk about some mindfulness techniques, and Stephanie Berman is here to talk about the Aziza Project, which is a very important nonprofit that she is the executive director of. Have a great weekend, everyone, and go make your day richer. Go make someone else's day richer. You've made mine by watching the show, and I love you for it. We are over on time. I was too into our guests today. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.